And it's not only just illegal drugs, it's legal drugs as well. You know, we have a prescription drug problem, we have alcohol problems, we have cigarette problems. And I think a lot of that is through education, and we're getting better on some fronts. I think we have less and less people smoking each year because we've had better awareness, you know, of the health effects of smoking. I think that in order to combat the drug problem, the education is a big part of that. I would like to see the adjudication or the meting out of justice be done more locally than in Washington. I think drugs are a scourge, but at the same time, I also understand that teenagers, people that you may be related to, people that I may be related to have had drug problems, I don't want to put them in jail for 10 and 20 years at a time. What we did is, like so many things, when we see a problem, we get everybody in Washington goes crazy and says, just throw away, lock them up and throw away the key. So you get a 15 or 16-year-old kid who makes a mistake, and you put him in jail sometimes with a mandatory sentence for 10 years. That's a problem with sending it to Washington. We have drug courts in Kentucky, and I think they do a pretty good job. I have several friends who sit on the bench, and I think they weigh justice. And I think most of us, if one of our kids or grandkids or whatever got involved with something bad, we want somebody local in our community to see both the good and bad in the kid and say, could we not give him a chance to try to get better and reform himself, or should we lock him up in a prison where God knows what happens to him in a prison? So I am for a little bit different approach than some who just say lock them up and throw away the key and everything should be done in Washington. I think that community problems are better addressed in our local communities by our local judges and our local civic organizations.
Judge, thank you for your question. I appreciate that very much. This is an issue that has concerned me greatly for some time. I've only been in an elected office since I was elected in 2007, but obviously I saw this working in public service before that. In Kentucky, it started out in eastern Kentucky, Judge, we have a peculiar problem with prescription pill use. As I travel the state, particularly as I travel eastern Kentucky, my heart breaks every time I talk to a local elected official and they say, Jack, can you help us here? Can you help us here? Because 3/4 of our crime is fueled by prescription pill addiction. Our largest employers are our school system, our government, and there's hopelessness. There's hopelessness. So while it may be convenient to say that you want it all handled at the local level, from traveling across the state, I have seen this. I have seen how it's affected every Kentucky family. And there aren't many Kentucky families I've talked to where it hadn't affected them directly in some way. I bet if you go around this room, all of you have a story about a family member that's been affected by drug abuse. It's happened in my family. So this is an issue where it's all hands on deck. And I learned as Attorney General that we're in an era of declining resources. You know, I keep saying I'm a fiscally responsible Democrat. I reduced my office's budget by about 26%. But despite that, we created the Cyber Crimes Division. Another thing we did is we created the state's first prescription pill task force. And one of the first meetings I took when I was Attorney General was to sit down with Hal Rogers and figure out how we could work together, because resources were declining at the federal level as well. We've co-located agents, we've collaborated on investigations, we've collaborated with the DEA, we've collaborated with the KSB, and we've taken an all-hands approach, all-hands-on-deck approach to this particular issue. And you just can't say, like my opponent said at the judges' conference a week and a half ago, oh, just let them handle it at the local level. No, the problem's too big. You have to reach across the party aisle. You have to seek out people like Hal Rogers and say, Operation Unite is a good thing. And we're going to keep doing that. And we're not only going to tackle prescription pills, we're going to tackle meth, and we're going to tackle all these issues, because at the end of the day, this insidious addiction, where it's not just in eastern Kentucky anymore, but 118 of our 120 counties have an increase in prescription pill usage. It's a problem that keeps Kentuckians from doing all that they can do. So I'm going to be focused on this issue when I'm in the United States Senate as well.